Hello, this is a video that will show you how to solve a system of linear equations using the graphing method. You have probably already learned how to use the two algebraic methods of substitution and elimination. We will use the TI-84 Plus calculator for the graphing method. This is a document that shows step-by-step instructions for how to do so. You can pause your video and take a screenshot or a picture of this document, or it should also be accompanying the video separately. We will take the first examples here, and the first thing you need to do is solve each of those equations for y so that they will be in slope-intercept form. So if I want to solve for y on the first equation, I need to get the 3x over to the other side. Remember, when you move a term to the other side of the equal sign, it changes signs. So it was positive 3x on the left, it becomes negative 3x when we move it. Then I need to divide by 4, and I will get y equals negative 3/4 x plus, and I need to come over here and reduce this fraction. 2 goes into both the numerator and denominator. So 10 divided by 2 will give me 5 in my numerator, and 4 divided by 2 will give me 2 in my denominator. That is our first fraction here. Our second equation was 4x minus 2y equals 6. I need to take the 4x over to the right. That will make it negative 4x. And then I need to divide by negative 2. And I'll clean this up a little bit. Negative 4 over negative 2 is positive 2x. Positive 6 over negative 2 is minus 3. And that is our second equation there. Now we will go to our graphing calculator and input those two equations into our y equals key. So this is your y equals key here. So my first equation is y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5/2. Here's our negative key. You do not want to put your minus key in for a negative, or it will give you a syntax error. So I'm going to use my negative key. Then if you have a TI-84 Plus and some TI-84s, you can get a fraction by going to alpha y equals, and then this is numerator divided by denominator. So that is the one I want to pick. So I'm just going to click enter. If you have a TI-83 and then some TI-84s, they don't have that feature, in which case when you do your fraction, you're just going to have to use your division key here. Okay, so my first fraction was 3/4. Then don't forget to scroll 1 to the right of your fraction, so when you put your x, it doesn't end up down in the denominator with your 4. Here is my x key, so I'm going to press x, and then it was plus, and then I have 5/2, which is another fraction, so I'm going to have to use my alpha y equals key and click numerator over denominator and put in 5/2. All right, then in number 2, we're going to put 2x minus 3, which was our second equation. Now, before we look at our graph, we have to think about our window. So click on window right here. Right now, I currently have my window set to what's called the standard window. The standard window goes from negative 10 to 10 on both of the axes. So the x minimum means down here. This is the lowest x, which is at negative 10. And the x maximum is up here, and that's at our highest x, which is positive 10. The scale, x scale of 1, means that each of these little dots is worth 1. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If ever you have big numbers here, you might want to count by something more than ones, or you'll have a bunch of little dots here. For example, you could count by 5s, and that would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, if there's a big gap in between your x minimum and maximum. But we're going to leave it at 1 for this one. Our y minimum is down here. This is our lowest y, which is negative 10, and our y maximum is up here, which is positive 10. And again, we are using a scale of 1 on our y's. The rest of this you don't need to worry about. Okay, then I'm going to go to my graph key, and it will graph my two equations. While that's graphing it, I want to tell you that there is another way to get to your standard window. One way, if this was not your standard window, maybe you had just finished another problem where you had a different window, you could go in and manually type your standard window, -10 to 10, scale of 1, -10 to 10, scale of 1. But there's a quick way to get your standard window, and that is clicking your Zoom 6. 6 says Z standard, so Zoom 6. And that also automatically takes you to your graph. You don't have to go click your graph key. Okay, now remember that solving a system means we're trying to find the point that two lines intersect, which would be right there. So to do that now, I need to go to my Calc button. And that is above my trace. And any time you want to go to anything that's blue, that's above your main key, you click second, and then I'll click Calc, which is my trace key. I want to find where these two lines intersect, so I'm going to go to number 5. I can either scroll down to number 5, or I can just click number 5. Now, the first thing it's going to ask is first curve. They call any shape a curve. If I had a parabola, they would call it a curve. This is a line, they call it a curve. But what they're really just asking is the cursor blinking on the first line? And it is, and remember our first line is our blue line. Our second line is our red line. So yes, we are on our first curve, and it always will be, so you won't have to move it. I'm just gonna click enter. Now it's asking, are we on our second curve or second line? Our second line was red. This is our second line. So yes, so we will just click enter. And then we don't ever want to guess. So whenever it says guess, you just click enter to pass that. And here's our answer. Our intersection is at the point 2, 1. If I go over 2 and up 1. And remember that a point is usually written with parentheses and then 2, 1. And now you have solved a system using the graphing method. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good day.